Good afternoon. Let's get started. It's 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. So let me share my screen. Okay, so what we learned last week? Actually, it's the week before last week. That's what we learned. We learned about the time calendar. I'm not going into details for those because we start a new session. So we are going to learn very important skill, and that is Python function. So what is a Python function and why we need it? So let's just try some code to find this value. So if x larger than y, this value is the sum of x, y. Otherwise, it is a non-negative difference of x and y. Okay. So how can we do that? Think about this. If x larger than y, then this x plus y. Otherwise, it is a non-negative difference of x and y. So can anyone tell me how to do that? So let me just do a simple code here. All right, so x equal to 6, y equal to 10 if x larger than y, then what happens? Then z equals to x plus y. Okay, else, what happens? Else then z equal to y minus x, because we say it's a non-negative difference. If x is not larger than y, that means y is larger than x, or they are equal, right? So then I use y minus x, I will get a non-negative value. I will get a non-negative value. Okay, if I do this, let me print out the z. Let me print out the z. Sorry, I should run this one. I got a 4, right? That's what I got. So how about now x equal to 10 and y equal to 6? How can I write the code? How should I do that? Any ideas? Because you see, when here has x equal to 6, y equal to 10. I got that. Now you tell me, now x equal to 10, y equal to 6. How can I get a z now? How can I? I will have to write this code again, right? So I have to copy it. I have to copy this code and I put it here, and then I will print z. Okay. right? You see, now I print out the 16. And the previous example, it's 4. So if I have like a million customer, okay, so I needed to get the pitches. And then I compared with another customer. So I wanted to do an analysis. So then what happened? I needed to write this code again, a million times. Is that a good way to do it? Of course not. So then how can we do it? Okay. So then that is why we needed to use function. Okay. We need to use a function. So the reason is that we have to write those condition statement again. So that's not good. So we need to use function. So what is a function? Let me get a deal. Can you read this for me? Just this part. I highlight.
A function is a block of code that can achieve a specific goal. Usually, a function will return a value for use by the caller. Functions are defined using def keyword, followed by function name and a list of parameters.
Good. Very, very good. So we're going to spend 2 weeks, I think, to learn the function. Once we learn the function, we really are at a high level in coding. Okay. So let's see. So you see, I have this example. This is a function. Let me give this code to you. So I want you guys to use this code. And then we will do something, okay? So let me put the code here in my PyCharm. Now what does this code do? And I use a sum problem. Sum equals to x plus y. The sentence, okay, I will print this out. I will print this out. If you remember, this is how to format your string, how to print it out, right? And then I print the sentence with that. So this function, its name is called sum problem. Okay. And how do I use this function? I just use sum problem 10 6. All right. And then I use sum problem 6 10. All right. And then I can do it again. 10 10. All right. So let me just save the code and then let me run it. You see? The sum of 10 and 6 is 16. The sum of 6 and 10 is 16. The sum of 10 and 10 is 20. And you see, with a function, I can call this function again, and again, and I do not have to write this code multiple times. I do not need to write it multiple times. So I want you to pay attention here. You use the def keyword to define a function. Now this is called a function name. And then you see the parentheses. And you see this is called the parameter list. You can have 0 parameter. You can have 1 and multiple. And in the function name, okay, you have the column here. And you know a colon means it's the start of a block of code, right? So when we learn Python and we know colon starts a block of code, and all those code here belongs to this function. So this function has all those lines of code. And we see this is a body of the function, the function body. Okay, the function body, and you need to pay attention to that. And once you have the function defined, then when you use it, you just use the function name and then provide values to those parameters. So this is called argument, right? You provide the argument value to the parameters here. Okay. So I want you guys to try an example like this. You guys go ahead and try it. Yes, pattern. You have a question? All right. If you do not have a question, let me, yes, pattern. I cannot hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Can you go up back to the top slide?
The top side,
The one on the top.
this one?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, good. So you can use it multiple times, as many times as you want. Once the function is defined, you can call it. All right, so if you understand that, you see I have a function here called get common. And this function can return a value, use the keyword return, right? So the function called get common, and you have two sets. You have two sets, okay? And then you can get common. So let me give this to you as well. Okay, so let me do it here in my program. So I define a function called get a common. And then now let me get a common. Let me set it z equal to get common. And the x I will say Python. Okay. And the y I will say programming. Right? So now let's print out the z, see what it is. All right? So let me run it. You see z is PON. So if a function returns a value, then you can store that return value in another variable, just like this one, z. But you cannot store a value. You cannot say, let me say, put another variable here, ABC, equal to that. Will that work? Let me just try to print out the ABC as well. You see there's a difference there, right? ABC. See, ABC is none. because you have no value returned. You do not return a value. So you cannot set it to a variable. You have no value returned. But you see this function return a value, so you can set the value to another variable. You can change this variable to ABC. Now you see what is ABC. Okay. So the system does not know this value. So let me just change this, okay? Change this to ABC. So I don't need it, this one anymore. Let me run it. So ABC is this one. Okay. So if you return a value in the function, that value can be stored in a variable. You just set that variable equal to this function. Let me pause here. Any question from the class?
Can you please explain that last part one more time?
Good. Let me explain it. All right. You see here, right? Come on. You see here, this function returns a value. So you can set the value to a variable. So this is the function, right? So you set its return value to this variable called ABC. You can assign the value to it. So how do you store the return value? You just create a variable and call the function, and then you just assign that function result to this variable. And that's what it is. If your function does not return a value like this one, does not return a value, you cannot set a variable to it. If you set a variable to it, if you want to use a variable to store it, the variable will store none because there is nothing returned. Yes, a pattern.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So when you did print ABC, is the numbers are the numbers N and O the 10th letter and the 6th letter, and is P the 16th letter? Like I'm kind of confused on what you did when you did print ABC.
You see, ABC now get the common characters in these two strings, right? Because you see this function, you see X is a set, Y is a set. And then now you just find the common characters between these two, and that's P, that's N, O, and the P. This one has P, this one has P, right? This one has O, this one has O. So that's why, and then now you assign this value. So actually this return the value not stored in ABC. So does it make sense? Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So if your function does not return a value like this one, okay, if now you use the assignment, ABC will be none. It will not receive a value because this function does not return a value. Okay. Any more question from the class? Is this clear? And you see the beauty of using function is that you can call this function again without writing the function code multiple times. You do not need to write the code multiple times. You just call that function. That function has the code you need. Right? Okay. So function can solve us a lot of problems. Let's move on. So you see, that's what we got. All right, now think about the problem we run into in the beginning of today's class. I want you to spend 5 minutes and write a function called find z, and you want to return this value. Okay, so let me copy this in the chat window, and I will show you the problem we have. So what is the problem? This problem. Let's solve this problem using function. Okay, I give you guys 5 minutes, and I want you guys to code a function. You can just modify the function I give to you, the sum problem, modify that one. And if you do not know how to do it, I will help you. Let's work on it together. Okay. Catherine, I can help you. Yeah, just give the class a little bit of time, and I will check how other students does. So what is your question, Catherine? Which part you get confused? Can you speak up? I cannot hear you, Catherine. You wanted me to explain the requirements? Okay, the requirements is that you see find this value. If that's the condition, you get this value equal to that. Otherwise, this value is looks like that. So two conditions. And if you want, then I want you to, use the function to call it, and you see how it looks like. Yes, you can change the code. You are changing the code, and you need to write a function. I want you to write a function. Okay, dear, I can help you on that. So let me just check. Let me stop sharing. So does anyone finish anything? Ryan, did you finish it?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, let's do it together. Okay, I will do it with you together on this one. I think you guys spend enough time. So I wanted to do this with you together. All right. So what I'm going to do, let me just remove this code. Let me write a function called find the z, right? And you need to give me two values, x and y. So what I'm going to do is that if x larger than y, what happens? Z equal to x plus y. Else, okay, else if z is not larger than y, then z equal to y minus x. Because x is not larger than y, that means y is larger than x. So you use y minus x, you get a positive number, or 0 if they are equal, right? So after that, what you do, you just return z. You return z, right? So now what I can do? I can just do this. I print out, find the z, 10, 6. I can also print out 6, 10. So I'm printing out this value right here. I'm print out this value because I called the function and I give the function two values because it needs two values. And this value will be assigned to x. This value will be assigned to y. Okay, then you compare x and y. Then let me run it. You see, in the first situation, x larger than y, then you get the sum of them and you get 16. And in the second situation, x is not larger than y. So then you need to get the positive difference. And then you use y minus x. So that's why you get a 4. Yes, pattern. I cannot hear you.
My code's not running, so can I show you it?
Yes.
So like, I press this is the code that you shared to us, and so I did it, and then I press play, but then like nothing happens over here.
Yeah, you have 3 problems here. First problem is 9, 7. You cannot indent it. It must be part of the function, but it cannot be the part of the else, right? That will promise you that it will return a value even when x is larger than y. The next 2 problem is 9, 9, and 10. You should not indent them at all because they are not part of the function, right? The function code should end at 9, 7.
Okay, thank you.
For the z equals y minus x part, it's not working for me.
Can you share your screen to me,
Yeah.
please?
All right.
Okay, I think you made it one mistake here. The first mistake is the find z. You see, it has the x and the y, right? And
Yeah.
the come behind the y is not necessary.
Oh, wait.
Come after y is not necessary. Okay, delete it. And
Yeah.
then on line 7, you have a problem because you see this function requires 2 values. You did not supply any value. So the function does not know what is x or what is y. So you have to provide values. You need to provide a value to x, provide a value to y. So can you put a
Oh,
10?
Like when I put 10 and 6, it adds it together. It works. Oh wait, actually it subtracts it. That's the 6 and 10 that adds it together.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
then when I run it like this, it shows -4.
Okay,
It's
so
equal.
you know why? Because you use a y larger than x. You use the plus. It should be x larger than y, right?
Oh,
All right, now try it.
now it's 16, and then we tried 6 and 10. 4. Yeah, it works.
Now it works, right?
Yeah.
Good. So can I check Kathleen your work, Kathleen? Kathleen. Very good. So you know that you use functions, so you do not have to write those conditions again and again, right? You just call it. And another way to do it, can you stop sharing? Let me share mine. Another way to do it is that let's just call it find z. And let me do this. Z equal to find z. And then I just print out a z here. And I can do this again. Z equal to 6 and 10. And then now I printed the z again. You get the same result because the function returns a value. You can store them in a variable, or you can use it directly as we did before, right? You see, I also get 16 and 4, the same thing. Okay, you can directly put it in the print, or you can assign it to a value, and then right, let me check another student's work to see if I got what I wanted to say. Alexia, do you mind to share yours to me? Alexia, yes. You missed one column in line 2. The column after the if, right? You need a column there. So tell the system I have a block of code here. Now run it. Should work. Oh, no, not after if. It should be after, yeah, after the parentheses. Yes. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, very good work. So April, do you mind to share yours to me? April. Very good work. Hunt, do you mind?
I'm finishing it up right now.
All right, take your time. So let me check Leo's first. Leo. Good job. Yeah, I just worked with you on that. Very good deal. Thank you. And Ryan, can you show me your work? Very good. All right. So Hunter, you have problem or you are good? Hunt,
Yeah, I'm good.
you're good. Okay, so I move on. So we have done the very simple function yet. Okay, very simple function. So now let me just go a little bit deeper to the function. So you can define a function within another function. In this situation, the inner function is not visible outside of the parent function. Try to call inner function in this example, inner function 2, and that will give you the problem. Okay, it will give you the problem. But you know that you can nest a function in another function, but the nested function can only be used by this one. Okay, can only be used by this one. So you see here, you can use return this one. Okay, just give you this idea so you understand there are such a thing there. Okay, all right, so let's move on. So we needed to learn another skill in the function. So let me give you this example. Okay, let's get this function. You see in this function, the function called last first. And I have the first name, have the last name, I have the separate. We have 3 parameters in the function, right? But you see, when we call it, right? Let me give you this code as well. So let's try it. Can you try this? So let me try it. So if I call this function, all right, let me run it. Because I got a Smith, Tom, and a comma in it. It asks for 3 values, but I only provided 2. What happened? Why that works? How the system knows which one is for which? I have 3 here. You only give me 2. How do I know I need to give Tom to separate it, or I need to give Smith to separate it, or I need to give Smith to first name, or I give Smith to last name? How do I know it? Do not worry. Okay, with Python, if you see something here, you see it equals to something. That means, okay, the first value here will give to the first parameter. The second value will give to the second parameter. And the third parameter does not give a value, but here you have the equal in it. So that means if you do not provide a value to me, I will use this one. So that's why you see you have the comma in it. If I do provide a value, so let me do this, okay? If I give it a value, you see what happens. I give it a value, I put a 2 dashes in it. Okay, so let me run it. You say I get a Smith 2 dash Tom, yes, pattern.
Is return something similar to a print?
And return this, right? That's what is returned. And this is the concatenation of the three strings. And you can also do this. You just say return result. Or you just use ABC. Let's just use ABC, okay? ABC equal to this. And then I print out ABC. Okay. Let me run it. You say you get Smith dash dash Tom. So a parameter like this in the Python, it is called an optional parameter. You can supply value to it. You can also choose not to supply value. If you do not supply a value, it will use this value as the default value. It will just use this. So this value is called a default value if you do not supply value. But if you do supply a value, it will use the value you supplied, just like this one. You supply, it use 2 dashes. If you do not supply value, it use comma. Make sense to you? Does this make sense to you, Alexia?
Yes.
How about you, Hunter?
Yes.
Very good. All right, very good. So this is a Python. It is a very powerful, very convenient. This does not exist in Java. Does not exist. Okay. If you in the future you want to learn Java, you will see Java is more complicated. Okay. All right. Okay, good. So let me move on then to the next one. So this function has 3 parameters. What can we call it? And we call it default value. This is called an optional parameter. Okay. The problem now comes. So I want you, April, help me read this one.
The default value is evaluated only once. This makes a difference when the default is a mutable object such as list, dictionary, or instances of most cases. For example, the following function accumulates the arguments passed to it on subsequent calls.
Okay, so what is the example? I think if we can finish this one today, that is very good. All right, so let me give you this function. This is a very simple function. Let me just give you all the code, and then I will explain this to you, okay? All the code here. And let's see, this is dangerous sometimes, okay? Why it is dangerous? So let me put my code here. You see, let me just put in more space here. You see, this is a function. So parameter L, it's an optional parameter. Its default value is in the input list. Nothing in it. Okay, nothing in it. So you see the function if. So you see I call if 3 times. You may think, okay, if I put a 1 there, I only get a 1. If I put a 2 there, I only get a 2. Because of 2 and in the input list, and you append something to an input list, you will get just that item. But actually the result is not. So let me run it. You see here. So you call it once and you get the right result. You call it twice here. Now you got this one. And you call it 3 times. Now you get this one. So the original cause make the difference because it only evaluate once. So when you call it error equal to input list, it's only evaluated in the very beginning call, the very first call, and then now if error has a value, it will still continue using that value. It does not re-evaluate to input anymore. It does not evaluate to input. So you need to remember that. Okay, you need to remember that.
Excuse me?
Yes.
What does the append do? The L dot append?
So what does the append do? So can anyone help me? Ryan, can you help me? What does append do?
It adds the item to the end of the list.
Yes, very good. So append just append this item you give here to the list and append it to the end of it. Okay, if your list has multiple items, and this one will be appended to the last position. So that is why you see first A is 1, you append 1. Now you append 2 to it, now you append 3 to it. So every time you see call it, it appended to it. And the error is not evaluated anymore. It only evaluated in the first place, then it stays in the memory, then now you append it to it, so you get more. Though you're thinking, oh, error is in the input list here. So every time I append an item to it, it will be just in one item list, but actually it's not. So be careful on that. Make sense?
Yes,
Is,
thank you.
is it confusing? Okay, good. Let's move on. So we are doing very good. So let's just move on to learn more then. Okay, good. So what are the next topic we are going to learn? Keyword arguments. All right, so Kathleen, can you help me read this slide?
Keyword arguments. When you use keyword arguments in a function call, the caller identifies the arguments by the parameter name. This allows you to skip arguments or place them out of order because the Python interpreter is able to use the keywords provided to match the values with the parameters.
All right, so let's see an example to help us understand it. So let me just give you all the code here in this slide. And then let's use it to help us understand what is a keyword argument and why do we need it. We are just trying to be fancy by doing different things, or is there more reasonable reason? So you see, I have the function called a print info. This function has two parameters, name and the age. And you see, I wanted to print out the name and I print out the age. And then now you see, when I call this function, I put the age first and I put the name next. But actually, in the function, name come first, then age. So in order to make the system smart, so I use this. So I use the keyword argument. That means this keyword age must be exactly as this one. Same thing for that name must be exactly as that one. So you just make the parameter as a keyword argument. Okay, so let me run it. So you see this, the computer is smart enough to know Mickey is the name. Age is the age. 50 is the age, right? Even then you supply 50 first, make the second. But because you use the keyword argument, that's why you can make the system smart. And why do we need it? Just like the slide says, this allows you to skip arguments or place them out of order because the Python interpreter is able to use the keywords provided to match the values with parameters. So you know that we have optional parameters. If in the method I have more than one optional parameters, and then I want to skip some, and then I want to provide a value to an argument in the very end. Say if you have five parameters, I want to only provide 3 values, and the last value I provided should be for the last parameter. Then how about the parameter for number 3 and the number 4? You cannot, right? Skip them because the value is supplied in the order of the parameters. The first value goes to the first parameter, second value goes to the second parameter, and then you only have 3 values. The third value should go to the third parameter, but actually you wanted to give it to the 5th parameter. So what can you do? You use keyword argument to do it. Keyword arguments. Does this make sense?
Can you show that slide one more time, please?
Let me do that. The slide or the example?
Just the slide, please.
This
Or
one,
actually,
right?
can you show the example too?
This is the example.
Okay, thank you.
Does this make sense to you all? If it does, we have learned a lot today. So I can just stop here. And if you have questions, you can ask me. And if not, I wanted to return the class back to Miss He.